Check this out. I met this girl at school and she was like, do not go gentle into that good night. And I was like, two roads diverge in the yellow wood. And she was like, it was the best of times. And I was like, call me Ishmael. And she was like, cradle of civilization. I was like, cuneiform. And she was like, Locke's theory of knowledge. And I was like, the advent of feminism. And she was like, Roe versus Wade. And I was like, animal rights. And she was like, categorical imperative. And I was like, opiate of the masses. And she was like, teleological proof. And I was like, wow. And she was like, I know. And I was like, beer? Let's check this out. I met this girl from school, and she was like, the weather? And I was like, hockey? And she was like, Moosehead, and I was like, Corona. And she was like, reggae. And I was like, Pez? And she was like, Fraggle Rock. And I was like, Guinness. And she was like, Heineken. And I was like, Amsterdam. She was like, Rotterdam. And I was like, Stalingrad. And she was like, Leningrad. And I was like, vodka? And she was like, vodka. And I was like, Chichen Itza. And she was like, tequila? And I was like, tequila? And she was like, living la vida loca. And I was like, she bangs, she bangs. And she was like, tequila, tequila, tequila. And I was like, wow. And she was like, I know. And I was like, my place? Let's check this out. I'm making out with this girl from school and she was like, ooh. And I was like, yeah. And she was like, Patrick Swayze. And I was like, Demi Moore. And she was like, ooh, and I was like, oh yeah. And she was like, blast off. And I was like, giddy up. And she was like, Sammy Sosa. And I was like, Barry Bonds. And she was like, huh? And I was like, uh-huh. And she was like, show me the money. And I was like, you and me at hello. And she was like, oh baby. And I was like, do it. And she was like, Ernest goes to camp. And I was like, Muppets take Manhattan. And she was like, Gandalf with a hooker. And I was like, Princess Jasmine being peed on. She was like, oh baby. And I was like, don't stop. And she was like, Mr. Rogers spread eagled. And I was like, Betty Rubble in Night Vision. And she was like, Martha Stewart's mammogram. And I was like, Oprah Winfrey's dildo. And she was like, your mother was a convict. And I was like, yo mama. And she was like, say what? And I was like, you best believe. And she was like, check yourself before you wreck yourself. And I was like, you need a checkup from the neck up. And she was like, talk to the palm. Cause you ain't the bomb. And I was like, what of it? She was like, psh. And I was like, bitch. And she was like, dick. And I was like, hussy. And she was like, simpleton. And I was like, harlot. And she was like, ignoramus. And I was like, canker blossom. And she was like, thou painted maypole. And I was like, thou huge bombard of sack. And she was like, thou bolting hutch of beastliness. And I was like, thou stuffed cloak bag of guts. And she was like, thou reverend in vice. Thou swollen parcel of dropsies. Thou roasted Manning tree ox with pudding in your belly. And I was like, I came already. And she was like, me too. And I was like, wow. And she was like, I know. And I was like, see you at school?